projects, and no one has an unlimited budget or time. Sunbelt Rentals makes all jobs less stressful with no need to purchase large equipment or hire a crew. You can do it yourself with rentals in everything from aerators and power rakes for spring yard work to stump grinders, concrete mixers, tile saws, and more. Check out their inventory in Lincoln, north of Cornhusker Highway on 56th Street, or online at sunbeltrentals.com.
Coming at you live from the heart of Lincoln, America. This is the Don't Punt Hour with former Nebraska receiver.
Throwing over the middle, completes the pass. He's got speed to the end zone. Touchdown. 45 yards.
And return specialist.
This time he beats the kicker in one more.
DeMornay Pierson-El.
Not only does the sideline have confidence in Pierson-El, but Pierson-El has confidence in Pierson-El.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome into Don't Punt Hour. Harrison Arns back in the Ticket Studios. 402-464-5685. You guys want to join in with the former Husker, the host himself, DeMornay Pierson-El. You can also put a face to the voice. Use the streams, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, X, Allo, channel 961. Coming back in, shout out to Austin Norman Enrique covering for me last night. But DeMornay Pierson-El, I'm curious. I don't want to start with the Bears. So let's talk about you and I first. I haven't got your opinions there. Just real quick, Nebraska wins that one 34-3. It was the game that you just had to have it. It was a lose-lose situation for Nebraska. The only way it's a win is if you beat them and beat them convincingly, which they do. They bump up another spot in the AP poll, now sitting at 23. Morning, give me your thoughts on Nebraska versus UNI.
You don't want to talk about them because it made you sick, or?
We'll get to it, but my hope is, as much as it kills me, my hope is it's what the Packers were last year, where that first few games is just like, oh man, I'm nervous. Jordan Love, he doesn't look like himself. This offensive line is still figuring it out. I'm hoping that's what the Bears look like in these next few months, that there is a point where things start to turn around. But I mean, he got killed in that game. He got just lit up every time they brought five. The Texans, the Bears couldn't figure out how to pick it up.
We'll get more into it.
Sure we will. Thank you.
It was a good test. I mean, a lot of people were freaking out or have some concerns. And, I'm like, slow down. It was a dominant performance. Like, it was a one-dimensional team. Things got handled the right way. Of course, it wasn't all the way perfect. But, again, you have a freshman quarterback that is handling things. So it's still a learning process for him. But, I mean, the base defense, the defense was in their base defense pretty much the entire game, didn't really, blitz or show anything. So, they were just kind of flying around, making plays and whatnot. I mean, you and I couldn't really get going. They moved the ball or whatnot, but honestly couldn't score. So, it's a win on that side of things. Things were a little bit sloppy. But, again, freshman quarterback, operations of everything, everybody's, still starting to settle. And you got new transfer guys in and whatnot. Collectively, I thought it was a decent win. It is definitely something to build on. Definitely, excuse me. That was my daughter. Sorry.
Yeah, definitely keep moving. All right, go ahead.
But it was a win. They kept the league and whatnot. They didn't kind of break things into a shamble or give you that oh no, here we go again. They got the lead early and often and dominated. So overall, like I said, I mean, it was a good showing. It was definitely a positive builder with going forward.
Yeah, and the offense, we still got 34 points. It's a tremendous improvement from last year. You got 38 versus Wisconsin. You got 40 plus versus UTEP, or excuse me, just 40. So it's like the offense is, I'm okay with the point totals. And then you look at the defense. UNI, they had that one drive to get those 3 points, but man, did they have to work to just get three. It was a 10-minute drive. You give credit to UNI for trying to chew clock out of it while it's still early. But Nebraska, after that 10-minute drive, just responded right away. Instead of 3, they get 6 and turn it into 7 with PAT after. So it was just one of those things that it felt like UNI, after really trying to put that drive together, they needed to get a touchdown. Nebraska's defense was able to shut it down. And from then on, you don't want to say the game was put away, but you felt safe just knowing that Nebraska's defense is really going to put a lot of pressure on the UNI. And, they're not going to get super crazy with it. They're going to run the ball, and we will talk about it. It's perfect for heading into this Illinois game, running into a team that's going to be physical like that. But you felt pretty good the entire way. You look at UNI's third down conversions, 6 for 16. Nebraska, when they forced them, to a third and long, they pretty much got the stop every time. Nebraska, on the flip side, they took care of business for the most part, 4 of 7 on their third down conversions. And again, just more limited attempts, but Nebraska, every time they did, they just took care of business, averaging over 8.8 yards per play. Really isn't too many holes to poke in this one. The turnover battle was even, as you mentioned. They throw an interception, but so do we. And that's the first turnover from Dylan Raiola.
That was really, that wasn't even his fault. Like that, like if you, I kind of hate those type of things. I feel like that should be more so ruled as like a fumble.
Yeah.
Like that's one of those stats that it goes against him, but if you really look at it, I mean, he caught the ball, was not necessarily making a move, but it was a football move being made, and when they roll and hit the ground, that guy, takes it from Jalen. So that to me, like he's not necessarily in a bad turnover, ratio or anything like that, because like he put the ball where it was supposed to be. So that was just a bad situation with stuff and everything like that. I don't even really like look at that, or that doesn't even scare me.
Yeah, and those things are going to happen. You're going to have some if you play that quarterback position, unless you just have one of those lucky years where everything just kind of rolls out in your favor. You're going to have some penalties, some turnovers that, if you really look at the tape, you could argue how much is that really on the quarterback. But again, they'll only be at 1. You feel pretty good, especially in the circumstances. If you're going to put the context around it, then you feel like we're really still close to 0. So yeah, when it comes to the turnover battle, it's been refreshing seeing the quarterback just as far as getting the snap to when he's going through his reads, not forcing anything. And to me, that's what's impressed me the most about Dylan throughout this entire thing is he doesn't take the bait on anything. Like if you don't want to give it, if you want to give him the just checkdowns all day long, he's fine with that. He'll take the checkdowns and trust the running game to make it those third and reasonables to be able to get you on play action. I mean, that's what stuck out to me with Dylan Raiola is just his ability not to force anything. And then I give credit to Matt Rule for these games. It just feels like we're planning on closing them out, ahead of time. Like we're setting ourselves up to win the game late in the stretch, just with, our play calling. When we get that lead, how do we continue attack? It felt like in years past, we'd get up and we'd just get super conservative. And I never understood why. I felt like we'd always allow teams to creep back into it. There's just a good, healthy balance of Nebraska's run attack and just throwing it through the air as well that keeps teams on their toes. And when we need to, we've seen the run game, against a UNI team whose defense, we'll see how good they really are, but do a really good job just running the ball and taking more pressure off of Dylan Raiola's shoulders. What's impressed you so much about his career so far? I know it's only 3 games in, but a lot of good things for sure.
I think the way, just operation, just of him being able to go out there and understand, where to go with the ball, moving off from, one progression to another, which, I had some worries because it's a freshman and stepping onto a new level. But with how fast and how efficient, he has been with stuff and everything like that, it looks like, like the live bullets aren't disturbing him at all. He's keeping, the offense on time, even when, the first game, that 2nd and 30 was crazy. They've had some 3rd and 10s and still, come back to, get first down. So his ability to continuously, moving the sticks, no matter what exactly like the down or distance is, we've seen stuff in the past where you kind of get that, or we've been in that situation and it's like, that's not really going to, end well for us or whatnot. So the fact that that the coaches have the confidence to call something and let him, figure it out, to his ability to actually get the offense set up and go to almost every time, the right decision and making the play, not only, with his arm, with his head. And I think that's what keeps a lot of trouble out of some of these, bigger universities, or not bigger universities, these other universities when they got veteran quarterbacks, right, or a good quarterback that understands, situational to where he doesn't have to force anything. How many times have we seen, these other quarterbacks roll out and try and force nothing? One of the biggest things that jumped out, if it's not there, like, he doesn't try to force anything. He throws it away, and I'll get it back, the next play. So that maturity of understanding, I don't have to make the play right now. Like, I don't have to force something just because I have a strong arm and I'm this and to do it, but the ability to not, let that impulse get, the offense in trouble. So I think that's what's been, the most impressive things of how fast and how he understands that, early on, and how consistent that has been over 3 games.
Yeah, and it goes beyond just Dylan Raiola. I'll give credit to the other guys as well. The Colorado second half was tough. I think that's the game where we shot ourselves in the foot more than we needed to. There's definitely some times where I'll agree with some of the quote unquote phantom calls. There's things where I was scratching my head trying to figure out how in the world did you even throw that flag? You're seeing ghosts out there. But there are some things, we certainly could have done better. But it goes beyond Dylan Raiola. You just look across the board and it's like this team isn't shooting themselves in the foot left and right. It's Dylan Raiola taking care of the ball. Outside of Dowdell on that one fumble in that first game versus UTEP, he's taking care of the ball. So it just feels like that turnover bug, whatever it is, it hasn't caught Nebraska this year, and hopefully it stays that way. We do got one from YouTube here asking about the punt return. It's just a real thing here at Nebraska. We love our punt returners, hence why we got a show with one right here. We got Coach Brandon curious about IGC and if he has what it takes to take the next step in punt return like you did. Now, IGC in this game, he only had the 1 for 2 yards, but previously versus UTEP and Colorado, he was getting over between 2 to 3, and he was getting close to averaging that 10-yard average. I believe he was somewhere at 7.1. After this one, he's probably back down a high 6.8. I'd have to crunch the numbers. But what do you see in IGC, Isaiah Garcia Castaneda? As in my opinion, he's done a good job back there so far.
Well, I mean, he's been consistent. That's something that, we haven't had, for a while. He understands the situation, and that's a good job of him understanding it. That's a good job of the coaches having, the guys prepared. He's decisive with his decisions. The returns are going to come. The defense is going to have people in the hole to where, they're not going to be able to move. So I think, more returns are going to come. But I mean, I'm not, again, don't force the issue. Returns and whatnot can cause, turnovers as well as, anything else in the game. So don't do too much to hurt the whole team. With, taking things back to the house and block scheme set up and everything like that. It just depends on, having the right people out there doing their job. I mean, the guy's fast enough. He has visions. He's not, scary or anything like that. I just think, as they get more opportunities and everything like that, like, you will see that. The more defense, pin people back in our own territory and force them to punt, that's where you see, those big returns or whatnot. But, if they get to, our 40, or 30, that might be out of the window a little bit, just, playing the field. So I definitely like him. I definitely think he's consistent. I like his decision-making with things. You just kind of got to give them a little bit more time to kind of figure things out. And, I definitely think, big returns are definitely coming.
Yeah, he's going to have some chances here. We've seen it. You have a bad punt. That Michigan State game always comes to mind. Somewhere the directions get confused. Like, if the punt returner is aware of the situation and he's just patient and waits for it, there'll be some opportunities for him to go ahead and show his speed off. I like IGC, and for everything that he's just confident. Like, I'm not scared that he's back there. And in years past, we've had some guys that just didn't even look comfortable, whether it's because the first one they muffed or because they just watched the guy who had that spot to begin with muff a couple of punts. So now the pressure's really on. It's like, we got to figure this part out on special teams because it's unnoticed like that.
Secondly, we haven't really been playing like in any like win situations.
Yeah.
So if a team is punting with the win, How many times have we seen it? How many times have I seen, punters outkick that coverage? That's when, things kind of get messed up. But that comes, a little bit later on in the season and whatnot. And not only just that, but, building confidence and having, situational awareness of like understanding, okay, I'm going to take it. So you can't compare every, return man to some of the best people that you kind of seen, because it's a little bit different. But the fact that he's not scary, the fact that he's able to catch it, understanding the situation and still, return and get you something out of it, it's a step in a positive way. So, like I said, I'm confident, big returns are coming. It just might take, a little bit, a little longer. Because if I'm not mistaken, he was hurt last year, correct, too, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so, you got to let him get his comfortability back. Let him get his thing, moving and grooving, and then, we'll see what things are.
Yeah, it's fun to root for him the same way it's fun to root for Fedoni. So it's like, man, you stuck with it, and then you stuck with it, and you stuck with it. And like the injuries just pile up, and you keep the end logo, and you keep working out with the Huskers, and you finally get your opportunity, and it looks great, not only for him, but Fedoni as well. Like I said, both of those guys having big impacts, especially Carter Nelson. We got to see him get his first career touchdown as a Husker. Just was wide open, running across the middle. I can't remember if it's a play action, but the defense just totally wasn't able to get to him in time. And Dylan Rail throws a dot. I know it's early, but
I thought it was like a tunnel screen.
It could have been that. I'd have to go back and watch
it. Like a tunnel screen. He caught it coming back to the line, and I mean, he caught him in pretty much like a zone, and there was nobody there. And so you win a race, give him a race, and he beat him to the end zone.
Yeah, he's been fun to watch. I know it's early, but it feels like they got something special in Carter Nelson that he's already kind of showing he can be that guy.
It's a bit early on. He's definitely does some positive things. The game that he's used to is definitely different, but situational football, he's been in the right situations a lot of time, and it's fun to watch him.
Yeah, I just like guys that are that young that aren't shy of the moment. We saw that last year with Jalen Lloyd and Malachi Coleman. Obviously, Malachi Coleman probably won't see much this year. Try to reserve that red shirt, but it's nice when you see those young players that are finding ways to contribute right out of the gates. Now, again, they had to make some adjustments to figure out how he's going to get him out there on the field, but the fact that he's that good of an athlete where they're scheming ways to get him out there says a lot. And as long as he can stay healthy, who knows what he looks like next year when he puts on some serious weight as well. I'd imagine that's the plan for him. He could be really fun to watch, especially with the LSU tight end getting hurt right away as he gets to Lincoln, Nebraska, which was a bummer because that tight end room it's already steep. But man, if you have the LSU transfer as well in there, I mean, that's one of the best tight end rooms in the Big Ten. You can even argue with some SEC teams. Now, I'm not going to say it's the best out there, but certainly in the Big Ten, it looks pretty good. One more game I want to talk about in the Big Ten is Wisconsin. They got dismantled by Alabama. Yes, we could talk about that's the Alabama. That's kind of what you expect. But I mean, that was a beatdown right out of the gates. It wasn't the same way where Nebraska that one year, they were the big underdogs, the best 3-win, quote, team there was. Even though they lost all those games, the team showed fight, and it kept the fan interest in it. Wisconsin, that was rough. I mean, what's the script look like for Wisconsin heading down the road here? We've gone through their schedule. It really doesn't get a whole lot easier. Alabama was a tough one, but they got plenty of tough games ahead here.
I mean, I think things might be tough for them. You play Alabama early in the season, but you're gonna feel the effects of that game for a while. That's just not a game that you kind of, I'm not saying that they were scared. I'm not saying that they were intimidated, but that's one of those games you're like, so the quarterback is out, for the season or whatnot. Again, they're going to feel that for the rest, of the season going forward. With them is understanding. I don't want to say stop the bleeding, but they just seemed out of whack. They couldn't keep up. It got bad quick. It's that they're going to the drawing board and seeing what exactly is the next move or how to kind of salvage things, because you brought a guy in there to do a certain thing because you wanted to run a specific offense and everything like that. The run game isn't what we're used to seeing. So I mean, they're kind of back at, okay, well, what's our identity kind of crisis or who are we going forward? And again, as you said, they have opponents like Big Ten brutal opponents coming up or throughout the rest of their season and whatnot. That's not going to be easy, especially on the things that you worked on all off season, all spring ball, to get things running a certain way. Like it might not all be like that. So you kind of have to reinvent yourself a little bit. And I'm not too sure exactly, what to expect when, you went out and got a quarterback for a reason. So clearly, what you kind of had there maybe wasn't what you were feeling. So, it's figuring out, what their puzzle is. And that's not going to be easy at all.
Yeah, that's the best way to put it. They've lost their identity with the run game. Like that's their bread and butter. When it's like noticeably not as effective as it used to be. And like you said, they can't stop the bleeding because they got, what they want to go to on offense to kind of help them out in those situations just isn't happening at all. I mean, Alabama dominated the line of scrimmage, offense and defense, the entire game. I get it. It's Alabama. But in those previous games, you kind of looked at them versus South Dakota, and you weren't overly impressed by the offensive line. You thought that was one where you're going to see the rusher just dominate. So it feels like they're treading water and they're on track for next season. Like, I don't know if I see 4 wins on the schedule. And I'll ask you before we go to break here, does Wisconsin go bowling or not? Because up next, you got USC. I know you were down on USC, but I think they've proven enough that they should be favored against this Wisconsin team. And it's on the road for Wisconsin on top of that. Purdue, maybe you count that one. Rutgers, maybe you count that one. Northwestern. Those are kind of your best 3 chances, but you still got to get 4. And you got a Penn State, you got an Iowa, Oregon, who if you were down on Oregon, they just beat the brakes off Oregon State. Wasn't even close.
I'm still not impressed on Oregon, but continue.
Okay, well, I'll ask you this then, because you're not impressed by Wisconsin either. Who would you take in that?
Later in the season,
the QB situation with Wisconsin scares me. So I gotta go
that part is definitely, a big factor. So I mean, of course, I would take Oregon. But them playing USC, like Wisconsin can still be physical enough to slow down USC. You can say what they want. I think they're, dynamic on offense. USC has been like that for a minute, even with Lincoln Riley teams. Like they're very explosive, early on in the season, but it's kind of they're the hare in the turtle and hare race. Like they jump out on you, but yet, for whatever reason, you don't win, like you don't finish, or you don't do something that people expect you to do. And he's had that with Heisman winner after Heisman winner. So I'm not too impressed. So I think Wisconsin has enough to kind of take the wind out of the USC sails, just because that's going to be a physical game. Not to say that I knew the LSU game was and whatnot, but again, you're at the earliest in the season, everybody's hyped up, everybody's feeling good or whatnot. Now you kind of, again, coming to this game again, it's like you take a body shot, as a boxer. The first time it might not catch you, but later on in the rounds or whatnot, that same shot might be the one to put you down. So I think Wisconsin has a chance to, like I said, slow down USC. I don't know if they win that game, but I definitely think they will make it a physical Big Ten game that USC might not want no parts of.
Yeah, and that's your hope, because even if it's a close game, I mean, Wisconsin just kind of needs a gut check game to feel like they belong and they can take down some of these top opponents. And even if they don't beat USC, just have a game where you feel like you're right in it till the very end. Even better if you find a way to win it. But I almost like their odds versus Oregon later in the season because it's at Camp Randall. This one being on the road, I don't like them beating Nebraska simply because it feels like their bread and butter is gone with that run game. Iowa is a wait and see, but if you basically, it feels like if you're getting 6 wins out of them, if you're saying bowling, you're going to have to be gutsy circling some upsets for the Badgers because it's just been a tough start. Now, you expected them to probably be 2-1 at this point, but the margins of winning in those first 2 games outside of that first one, and they blew out Eastern Illinois. That second one, you kind of just scraped by South Dakota. I think it was closer than people realize. And then Alabama wasn't close, and you really didn't get 10 till it really didn't matter for you. And so, like I said, maybe they get 6 wins, but you're banking on Purdue, Rutgers, Northwestern, and then you're circling some upsets. Maybe you like them over Oregon or USC or Penn State, but those are tough upsets to go ahead and pick. With that being said, we'll throw it to our first break here. On the other side, we got to talk about the NFL. There's some chaos in the NFL already. There are some teams that are 0-2. It's been a horrible start for this year's rookie draft class. There's only been, I think, 1 or 2 touchdowns from the entire group, which is just incredible. We're going to talk about that on the other side, so don't go anywhere. This is the Don't Punt Hour with the former Husker himself, DeMornay Pierson-El.
Follow the Huskers to the City of Angels when Nebraska plays at USC in November. Book your official Nebraska alumni travel package at HuskerFanTravel.com. Choose from 2 or 3 night options that include a downtown LA hotel, exclusive welcome event, game day transportation, and the official Husker Huddle pregame party. Add on game tickets for an optional upgrade. Transportation to and from LA not included. Join the official Nebraska alumni trip to see the Huskers play at USC. Spots are limited, so book your trip now at HuskerFanTravel.com.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Koppel Chevrolet GMC, and Truck Month is back. We have absolutely gigantic savings right now at Koppel. They are offering $12,500 off on select new pickups. That is not a mistake. You heard right. $12,500 off list price right now on select new pickups. Those discounted units, though, will not last long. These are all manager specials. You have to come in now, so hurry in down 144th Street or shop online at koppelcars.com. You'll be glad you did. Stock number G356093 must trade.
Your child was embarrassed when you arrived at their basketball game. 75% of parents or guardians report current alcohol use. Drinking alcohol can cause harm to children and loved ones. By drinking less, your child will be excited to see you at their basketball game. If you or a loved one is looking for help, find a treatment facility near you at findtreatment.gov. For immediate support, call, text, or chat 988.
Brought to you by Nebraska DHHS in partnership with SAMHSA.
Rain, snow, or shine, John Henry's is here to keep your home's plumbing systems working properly no matter what kind of weather Nebraska throws at us. From unclogging toilets and drains to installing new water heaters and water treatment systems, John Henry's is your plumbing expert in the Lincoln and Omaha communities. Visit us at calljh.com or call
John Henry's.
435-5555. John Henry's Plumbing, Heating and Air.
And electrical.
For 15 years, Farrell's Extreme Body Shaping has been helping Lincoln become healthier, happier, and more fit through our proven combination of kickboxing, strength training, and nutrition coaching. And to celebrate 15 years of success, we're offering you 50% off our next 10-week challenge beginning September 14th. That's 10 weeks of fun group fitness classes and individualized coaching for half off. And at the end of the 10 weeks, someone's walking away with $1,000 for the best transformation. Come check it out. What do you have to lose? Click on the banner at theticketfm.com to learn more. Farrell's Extreme Body Shaping at 40th and Yankee Hill or 70th and Vine. And check us out online at fxblincoln.com.
It's the greatest time of the year again. Kickoff is here and football is officially back. Over 1 million fans across 33 states got in the game last year by making picks on Underdog, and this year you can too. Making picks on Underdog is straightforward and signing up is even easier. Just head over to Underdog's simple-to-use mobile app or UnderdogFantasy.com and sign up with promo code EARLY, and Underdog will give you a free pick to use on your first cash pick'em entry, plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you deposit. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code EARLY to claim your new customer special of a free pick and your deposit offer. Must be 19 plus in Nebraska and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet. KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
Looking for a place to relax and unwind after a busy day? Cigars Lounge at 8th and Q in the Haymarket is the perfect place to enjoy good company, a cocktail, and of course a cigar. Visit Cigars Lounge on Tuesdays for Top Shelf Tuesday and enjoy 50% off select spirits. Cigars Lounge offers Perdomo, San Cristobal, Rock Patel, and more of the top stogie brands that you know and love. But that's not all. If you mention this ad between noon and 5 p.m., you'll receive 15% off your entire tab just by mentioning the ticket. Check out Cigars Lounge today at 8th and Q in the Haymarket.
For 15 years, Farrell's Extreme Body Shaping has been helping Lincoln become healthier, happier, and more fit through our proven combination of kickboxing, strength training, and nutrition coaching. And to celebrate 15 years of success, we're offering you 50% off our next 10-week challenge beginning September 14th. That's 10 weeks of fun group fitness classes and individualized coaching for half off. And at the end of the 10 weeks, someone's walking away with $1,000 for the best transformation. Come check it out. What do you have to lose? Click on the banner at theticketfm.com to learn more. Farrell's Extreme Body Shaping at 40th and Yankee Hill or 70th and Vine. And check us out online at fxblincoln.com.
This is the Don't Punt Hour on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here is your host, DeMornay Pierson-El.
All right, welcome back into Don't Punt Hour, second segment. We're going to break down the NFL because it's been, what the hell's going on in the NFL already? It's week 2 heading into week 3. The Panthers just said we're panicking now. We're not going to even wait. We're just going to go ahead and decide to panic. We're going to go on to, why am I blanking on the redhead? Quarterback.
Andy Dalton.
Andy Dalton. Thank you very much. Yeah, Andy Dalton's stepping in for Bryce Young. After just 2 weeks, good morning, Pierson-El.
The redhead. Why you had to identify that man like that?
Because there's not a lot of redheads out there playing the quarterback position in the NFL. So when you say that, it narrows it down pretty dramatically. Give me another one.
Sam Darnold, I think.
Yeah, he's got a shade. All right, the Vikings, Sam Darnold, he falls in the group. But I if you find 3, I'm amazed that are active. But anyways, yes, Dalton, he's stepping in for the Colts. They gave up on Bryce Young 2 weeks into the season. I get the numbers were bad, but I
don't think they gave up necessarily. I think the dude's confidence is shot. I think I wouldn't say he's playing scared, but he's seeing phantoms. He's seeing a lot of stuff that might not necessarily be there. He's not confident and in control, and he might have gotten that to. Again, look at who the head coach is. The head coach has brought back Baker Mayfield, Geno Smith. So I think it's more of a time to kind of build him up for the moment and everything like that, and kind of stop him from sinking. I think with Andy Dalton there, he's been in the league for a while. He's seen everything. So blitzes, like the thinking part of it slows down because he knows exactly what it is, and you can kind of settle everybody else in. You know what I'm saying? But I don't think they're moving on from Bryce. I think that was more so probably something from the head coach just trying to get him back to a comfort level to make him feel like he's good. The kind of the Tua situation without the tough love. You know what I mean? Just the Tua was a certain way, and he got a coach in there that believed in him and kind of got him out of his turtle shell, got him more confident and consistent. And Tua got $100 and something million contract with I think with 1 year with the guy, maybe 2 years with the guy. So I think they kind of are taking a step back and kind of trying to hit the reset to build confidence. I don't think they're moving on from him. He's not like Zach Wilson. Like Zach Wilson and that situation is completely different. Like he's still making plays or whatnot. I just think he might be a little rattled.
Yeah, he's definitely rattled. And, it makes sense with that offensive line that he's had to deal with. Not a lot of receivers getting open for him. The run game, which actually seems like it's okay at times. They get away from it for whatever reason. I actually think Hubbard has been a little bit of a pleasant surprise this year. I know it's early, but it feels like they can have some success there, but they don't really like giving it a ton of attempts. And then you're just kind of putting on Bryce Young. I think his confidence is shot. My fear is that this just further diminishes his confidence. Maybe it helps them to step away, watch it from the sideline before he has to go back out there. But, man, it feels like now, next time he goes back out there, all the pressure in the world's going to be on him. Is this possible that they're pocketing him away as a trade asset? That's something they can have a value for a project for another team to take on?
And what you gonna like? You're still gonna be in the same situation. Your team is gonna be terrible. You're gonna get draft capital, which you're gonna bring in rookies to do the same thing that he was kind of doing, struggling, and you don't have a quarterback. I think the quick fix is free agency. You might have to trade something here and there, but I don't think they would use. They didn't rebuild. Ship up pretty much a solid offense. They had some players on defense. They didn't give up all of that just to give up on a guy in year 2. You know what I'm saying?
I hope not. Like let's just talk about what they gave up, and we'll go back to this Bears trade where they're able to get it. The Bears got DJ Moore, 2023 first round pick, and they used that to get Darnell Wright. 2023 second round pick, they got Tyreek Stevenson. 2024 first round pick, obviously Caleb Williams. 2025 second round pick. Panthers get the 2023 number 1 overall pick, Bryce Young, and that just reads awfully. And that's why I'm surprised, and I want to believe that this isn't the end of the road, because for everything you sacrificed, you're pulling the trigger pretty fast.
Yeah, like I said, they have some decent players on the offensive side in there. Like you said, their run game isn't technically terrible, but I think they get down so bad in the game, and you kind of got to get away from it.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
It's different, if you had an Alvin Kamara in the backfield that could, break open the game. If you had a Christian McCaffrey that can break open a game. But they're a slow grind team. Like they start slow, like they got to be on pace, and having a veteran quarterback, Mike can speed some of that up because, like I said, he's seen things and whatnot. So I don't think it's more so of going away from something. This is year 2, new offense, new coaches in there and everything like that, and you learning all over again. So you're not at Bama to where you knew the same playbook for 3 years or 2 years or whatever it was. Or you don't have probably on your offensive line you got 3 first rounders or 5 first rounders within your rotation. You got another 3 first rounders in the receiver room, the running back room, first, second rounder. He's not around necessarily talent. So, and he was putting it in places and making plays or whatnot. But again, like I said, his confidence is a little bit rattled to where now you second guessing stuff. Now you're not throwing. Now your anticipation is off. Now you making the game more than just a game, and you kind of got to bring that back in. So, I mean, I don't think they could trade him. If they do trade him, that would probably go down as one of the worst trades ever for all them picks and everything that you gave up to just give up on a guy, in year 2. What he had 2 different coaches like that. That's crazy.
It's crazy, but if we're talking about the Panthers, that trade to begin with was pretty crazy. I get it. You're high on Bryce Young. You think that's the future, but man, I mean, they gave up a ton, and I think that they probably could have figured out a way to. I guess the Bears picked up on how desperate they were to go ahead and get that pick, but I mean, we've just seen the Panthers make, with hindsight being 2020, what looks like just horrible.
If that trade necessarily didn't go down, you still would have got maybe not your first or second choice of quarterback. You still would have got a decent quarterback, but you had players around him who would have been a lot more successful. Mm-hmm. Look at a lot of these, rookie quarterbacks and everything like that has gotten weapons, within their first couple of years. Josh Allen he didn't look like the Josh Allen he looked like, in the first and second year. He didn't really start, emerging until the ball was there and Stephon got there.
Yeah, CJ Stroud is the rare case where it clicked right away.
That happened. That's every blue moon. Like everybody, is not going to necessarily get that. That's a combination of you got a defensive head coach who the defense is, going to be a top 10 defense probably. You got good players on offense, and you got a very accurate and smart guy who, he got in there. You got a good offensive mind coach in there, and he just kind of took off. Not everything is going to get like that. Patrick Mahomes didn't do like that. Patrick Mahomes, like I said, sat a year. So it's you don't see that happen, very often. Even with Lamar's freshman. Lamar's rookie year. Lamar didn't even play till later on in the season.
Yep.
So I mean, it's crazy that people expect certain things and then or get mad at certain stuff, but it's Like it's not, or quarterback, you got to know everything. That's new formations, new pass protections, new side adjustments. Everybody comes to you, to check in and necessarily do something right. So he might have went over everything, last year. And then again, like I said, it's something new. So it has to be figured out. So, I mean, like I said, I'm not thinking of it too much. Like I said, I think it's more so of protecting the guy, of understanding who the head coach is and what he's done. He's revived Baker. He's revived, Geno Smith. The Seahawks moved on from Russell Wilson and was like, yeah, we'll trade you away, whatever. And we went with Geno, and Geno necessarily, you can say, was almost, a glorified backup. He was a good backup quarterback, and they paid him, a lot of money. That coach got Geno to be like that. Baker Mayfield might have been on his last leg. People were starting to talk about him crazy and whatnot. And
it's safe to say he was on his last legs. He had that overnight flyover quick play for the Rams that saved his career. And like for that game, he got another shot, and then shout out to his agent. I mean, he's making it work.
Literally. So I just think, and it's not going to always be like that because one, it's a hot topic, but give the guy some time to work with the kid. Again, I mean, we've heard of sophomore slumps. Like, we act like that's not a thing. You know what I mean? That is a thing in the NFL. And
yeah, but you can't call it a sophomore slump if the freshman slump was real too. I mean, that's just like 2 years of nothing. Like, it's not all Bryce Young's fault.
No, no,
it's not a slump because it was just
you got dealt a bad hand. That's just what it is, and it's gonna take some time to build stuff up.
Yeah, I got faith in Bryce Young simply for Nick Saban's quote, like back in the day, his greatest attribute he gave him, he's coachable. And if you get a guy like that, it means hopefully pulling him aside isn't gonna, he's not gonna have a meltdown. He's not gonna hate, the team and coaches. He'll take it. It's like, okay, let me get dialed back in here. Because if that's true, I'd imagine he's going to be coachable through this moment as well. So it might not be the end of Bryce Young. But like we said, Andy Dalton, he's going to be starting for the Panthers indefinitely until whenever they decide to put Bryce Young back in there. Unless things are just clicking with Andy Dalton. We've seen that. They're just going to go with the hot hand. So with that being said, though, we're just going to go over this break because we got just too much to talk about before we get out of here. The AFC South is just hilarious to look at. Texans doing what you thought they'd do, 2-0. Colts 0-2. Jaguars 0-2. Tennessee Titans 0-2. Everybody, maybe the Colts are a little bit surprising that they're 0-2, but it just feels like Texans are going to run away with this.
The Titans, I'm surprised they 0-2, and you were in 2 games and still.
They should have beat the Bears. Absolutely should have beat the Bears.
I mean, and who did they just play last?
I'd have to. And that was another close game for him. Let me double check here. They put the Jets 17-24. They lost.
And that quarterback, he's making rookie mistakes. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not like he's just best thing in the world. Like no, they traded some things, and again, new playbook, new coaching system. So he's still learning and whatnot, and he's still unpolished. Like he does a lot of good things, but. I mean, he's costing the team games. That's just what it is. Like he's putting the ball, in bad situations, and it's cost, them. I'm not so much the Bears game, but I mean he added to it. So I mean, and he'll settle in or whatnot. But man, oh man, that AFC South is not looking good.
It feels like the Texans are. It's going to be a walk in the park for them to go ahead and just tear their way through that division.
I'm kind of mad with the Jaguars because that first game they were rolling.
I thought they were back. I thought this was it for Trevor Lawrence. I thought the Jaguars find a way though.
They've been playing good football, and I think it's just kind of cleaning up things. And I think the Jaguars I have a lot more hope for. I think they are a good team, and I think they'll start to put things together. Doug is a Super Bowl winning coach. They got a lot of talent down there. I think they just got to figure out how to finish games. So they shocked me a little bit too. But if anybody in that division can figure things out, I think it's definitely Jacksonville.
It seems like they have the most talent to do so, and they got to get back to what they were at last season. Figuring out ways to really be effective with Travis Etienne. I still think he's just one of the most underrated running backs. He is so good, and to have him back there with Trevor Lawrence, like you get him rolling again, It's similar to what he was last season and the season prior. Like, he can carry a lot of that offensive load and just keep your offense on time, keep the pressure off Trevor Lawrence. If they get that run game clicking, I think it's going to just take a ton of pressure off Trevor Lawrence. He still has some balls that are, a little bit questionable, but it does feel like they're just, I don't even want to say pieces away. It feels like the pieces are there. It's just cohesiveness, being able to figure out closing games out.
I think with ETN, I think you kind of need to get 1A, 1B back. That way the wear and tear in between the tackles doesn't, hurt him later on in the season. You kind of mix him up, because what he does best is somewhat what Alvin does out of the backfield. He's not like Alvin with bouncing in between the tackles and whatnot.
Yeah.
I would say Alvin and Christian McCaffrey are in the same category, but different than everybody else. And somebody that's, close kind of to it would be ETN, but he's not. They got to get him some, not more help, but you got to have, a 1B back that can, tote the rock, those tough yardage and everything like that. Kind of like how Gibbs and Montgomery is in Detroit. Something like that situation. I think you will be a lot more. ETN will be even more effective, and like throughout the whole season, his numbers will be consistently the same instead of wear and tear on things.
Yeah, and I like that too, because you look at, there's a reason why Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley get paid as much as they do. It's because those are the few rare backs that can literally do everything. They can run between the tackles. They can stretch it outside. They're quick enough just to beat people on the edge. And if you need a good receiving back, they got you there. If you need someone who's good on pass pro, they got you covered there. Like, those guys are so well-rounded that you can really feel comfortable calling anything. With Travis Etienne, you probably do have a good case where he could benefit from a 1A, 1B type style, very similar to what the Baltimore Ravens do, which is the next team we're going to talk about, because they're 0-2. And Jim Harbaugh with the Chargers is 2-0. Not the start we thought for either team. What's more surprising, the Chargers being 2-0 or the Ravens being 0-2? And I know you're happy about the Ravens because your Raiders found a way to beat them by 3.
The Ravens being 0-2.
Yeah. What's the problem there? It's not like they're getting blown out, but
well, the first game they came out there, they kind of shot themselves in the foot. You went toe-to-toe with the Super Bowl champs and everything like that. Operations was your first drive, you had 5 penalties or 4 penalties or something like that. Was the same thing. I think their offensive line has to gel better, and I think their wideouts have to make a little bit more plays. They got to get Derrick Henry rolling. With Derrick Henry, you got to get him going downfield. And I think the type of backs that they usually have necessarily weren't like Derrick. Derrick, like I said, is a little slower start. Kind of once he gets past the line of scrimmage, that's when things gets dangerous versus like Gus. Gus, he got the ball in the backfield. It's just different type of backs. Not to say anything or one is this or that. But you
can say like Derrick Henry when he's full speed is a nightmare, but Gus Edwards getting to his 0 to 100 is just a lot quicker than where if you need him for those 2-3 yards.
Like, watching Derrick, he takes some time to like get going. He has to get going faster. But their offensive line has to do better. I think that's kind of been what their problem has been. And then, like I said, their receivers, I think they have to make more plays. Not so much Zay. Zay's been there. They've been using him. Andrews has come back. He's starting to get in the rhythm and whatnot. Bateman, I know Nelson Aguilar is there. So they just got to kind of get them, in the mix a little bit more. That would be the only thing for them. Their defense, they're not playing bad. They're not getting blown out or anything like that. They're playing winnable games or whatnot. I think they'll be fine. It's just kind of shocked. They had the Chiefs right then and there, and then this situation with the Raiders, at home probably shocked them. So I'm not too stuck on them. I don't think they're going to move on from Harbaugh. I think that would be super for them, but it definitely shocked that they are 0-2.
Yeah, and I'm also shocked that the Chiefs are 2-0. I don't want to say that there's cheating going on or not, but it's like I tell you what,
I've seen a number. I've seen in each game at least two or three calls that were not called that literally were game changing. Like, well, two of them in each game probably were like game changing plays. That one play where the PI whatever against the guy holding.
Yeah.
Like they're not calling, and if I'm not mistaken, that right tackle had the most holding penalties last year in the whole entire NFL, and they're still not calling them. Like I'm not saying you gotta call every one of them, but that's blatantly obvious. And if you're going to be fair to decide a game like that, you might as well throw both of them, offset it, and let them duke it out. But that's crazy. Like come on now.
I said it before the season started. The Chiefs get away with more holding calls than anybody else, and it's insanity because Mahomes scrambles out of the pocket. He does what he does. When you extend the play that much, your chances of getting holding calls just skyrocket because you're putting your offensive linemen in tough positions, and he does that a lot. And now he does a great job extending the play. But like you said, it's just insane to me that until this Chiefs team blows somebody out, it feels like they're getting the benefit of the doubt. And like I'll never have any proof. It's all speculative. But it's just like, man, you've had 2 games in a row where it felt like you're just a few calls away from it going the other way. And it feels like the calls always favor you. If you want to break, we talked about quote unquote luckiest teams in the NFL. If you want to measure it on just field goals, quote unquote, I can't remember the exact 4 categories, but simply categories where the other side is going to have zero influence outside of maybe the referees. They can have a little bit of influence. It just feels like the Chiefs over and over and over again get those benefits. So I don't know for sure. It's all speculative, but until they blow somebody out, I just don't know where to put this Chiefs team and the power rankings. They're still top 5. I don't know if they're actually number 1 though. It just feels like these games, the way they're going, feels like they should be 0-2. But that's just me saying that. All right.
Or at least 1-1. Like they got bailed out twice.
The Bengals game they should have lost. I'm a firm believer on the Bengals game. Like that's
I think the Bengals are 0-2 too. The first game they I think they'll turn things around. Like Joe looked fine. He did, and they're down. Like I think the Bengals miss Joe Mixon so much, and he was a staple and a part of their identity. It is hurting them a lot more than what they know. Like that, them being able to run the ball and things like that, and not run it as effectively as they have been. I think that's kind of what's hurting them more so than anything. And they still don't even have T. Higgins. I think when T comes back, I think things will be a lot more functional and whatnot. But them losing Mixon is hurting them more so than anything else.
Yeah, we're running out of time, but it's great. And we'll have to talk about it tomorrow because the league the numbers say it's shifting back to the run. Despite all the rule changes, for the pass interference, that just skyrocket. It feels like everything is heading towards favoring the offense, in particular the passing game. All the stats are saying the efficiency of the passing game is going down, and the run game's actually starting to surpass it. So we'll talk about that, but it blows my mind how many of these teams don't value when they have a really good running back. Like your Raiders, why are you getting rid of Josh Jacobs? Like, I don't understand. You have a great running back. He's got just a ton of versatility to him. Nothing against Zamir White, but he's just not nearly as versatile.
Not the same.
What you had is Josh Jacobs. One bad season and he's out, and it wasn't even a bad season.
No, it's crazy. Again, I think it's a necessary part of having a dominant running back. I think there are a lot of good running backs. There's not so many elite running backs, and there's not so many great running backs. And when you got an elite running back, I think you teams are gonna have to start, all right, we're just gonna have to bite the bullet on this one, and at least keep that necessarily around because they kind of keep it. We seen it last night with the Eagles dropping, with Saquon dropping that pass and everything like that, but they keep the game moving, and it's been a consistent staple. If you have a run game, your pass game is going to complement. If you got a passing game, it's going to complement your running game as long as you have the right bodies back there, and they can try and get away from things or certain things you can't duplicate. And I think, like I said, with Joe not being in Cincinnati, I think that is going to hurt and haunt Cincinnati this year.
I agree. It's not going to haunt them as bad as the Giants are going to be haunted losing Saquon Barkley. That's the disaster we don't have time to talk for, but we got to wrap it up here. Final thing. The Saints are cooking right now. Derek Carr looks like the MVP. Is this sustainable for the Saints? It's the final thing I got for you. Are you buying into this Saints roster right now, the way they're just blowing everybody out of the water? I mean, the Cowboys weren't even close.
I think they have a chance to be consistent. Their guys are rolling, and like I said, Derek Carr, I love him to death. I'll stand on the table for him. That's my guy. I'm happy that he's doing that because people was talking crazy. I was hurt when he left the Raiders. I'm happy for him, and they hopefully keep things going with their division. They can with the NFC as a whole conference. They can. You got a few juggernauts, but you can climb yourself up there with what they got. They play good defense. They got explosive players. They got a smart QB that is going to get them into a right position. So watch out for them. I like how they're looking.
Yeah, and it's just not only hearing from yourself, but anybody who has been a Raider with Derek Carr or any of even go to college, his leadership skills is I think what sets him apart. Like his way to just kind of rally the guys. And as we're wrapping things up, I mean, he looked like peak Derek Carr. He had one toss stepping up into the pocket, an absolute bomb down the middle of the field. I mean, the guy still got a cannon.
Ooh wee!
I think it was 67 yards. It was something insane.
And she was out here working out early this summer, and he has Tyreek Hill speed. I've seen it. Like he has that straight away. I'm not saying exactly identical, but he can burn.
Absolutely. That's going to wrap it up for us. Watch out for the Saints. We both agree on that one. They look absolutely dangerous. Derek Carr, he looks like prime Derek Carr. Don't go anywhere. What's Brewing? Chance of Brewington up next. Good morning. Appreciate the time as always. Do it again tomorrow.